Hi, I'm Kelly,
I'm Allison.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Kristen.
and this is Fear and Wine. Welcome back to Fear and Wine. We are a podcast about horror TV shows, movies, and more. And we are on episode 6 today of Lovecraft Country, and it's called Meet Me in Daegu. This entire episode takes place in Korea, in South Korea specifically. So for that, our question for today is, what is your favorite movie, TV show, or story that takes place in Korea? I watch a lot of Korean TV lately. So I have quite a few.
I've got nothing for this one. I mean,
That's okay.
I thought a long time about it, and I just have nothing. So
Do you watch a
guys
lot
will
of
have
foreign
to-
films?
I don't.
Well, then that would make sense, and that's so many
Yeah.
people don't watch foreign films, so don't feel
So,
bad about
yeah,
that.
I
But I
completely
know
understand.
There have been some popular Korean shows and movies lately, but I guess I just haven't watched any of them.
My
They're
kids
not-
were
the ones
obsessed
I
with
can-
Squid Games.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. And that doesn't really seem like a Leah show, but I do
No.
have one that I think is,
Okay,
that I will,
I'm interested to hear about
when
it.
it's my turn.
Well, mine takes place in Korea, but it's not like a Korean show.
Okay.
So if anybody's ever seen the movies on Netflix, To All the Boys I Loved Before,
I have watched.
they have a
those.
spin-off.
Oh.
You've seen it.
Well, I saw the first one.
I
How
don't
many
even
are
know
there?
this.
I want to say like 3.
Okay,
never
I
heard
of
know
this
I
one. Wrong.
I know I
don't
saw the
know.
first one. Okay,
But you give me a teen drama and I'm there. So
right.
they have a spin-off show of it, of the little sister, called XO Kitty. And she goes to school. There's kids from all over the world go to the school in Korea. And her mom used to go there, but she lost her mom when she was younger, so she doesn't know much about her. But she goes there and learns all this stuff about her and, like, meets people from her family. And so, like, a lot of it is in Korean. They're talking Korean to each other, but they're also talking English because some people are from other places in the world. But that, I like it because it's a nice little teen drama
Hmm.
of, like, kids doing teen things, but in Korea.
Netflix
wow,
has
I
a
don't know
ton
this
of Korean stuff on
so
mine.
much.
Is it on all
Yeah.
yours? Or okay, so I didn't know if it was just me or it was everyone.
No, that's where I watch all mine. is
Okay.
On Netflix. I don't know where else to find Korean TV shows.
Yeah,
They
but
must
that one,
have
I
a
think
good-
that's more of an American TV show that just takes place in
Gotcha.
Korea.
Okay.
That's a good one.
So-
Okay.
But that's pretty much the only thing I think I've watched.
I was
like that
excited
you like
when you
teen
said
dramas.
you
I
had
think
one
that's
right
cute.
away.
Yeah, just because it's the type of stuff I like. But I think you've probably tried to send me things, Kelly, and have I watched them? No.
No. I thought you watched Squid Game.
Oh, I did. I did watch. I only watched
Okay.
the first season. I haven't seen the second season.
Okay.
And then I watched that cooking show. Was that, like, it's not really Korea, though, was it?
Well, no, that's all. It's all of Asia.
Okay.
But I don't know. But it might be a Korean production,
Okay.
and it might
well, then
take
that
place
might
in
count.
Korea. Yeah.
I like that
I mean, I
Korean
watched
cooking
the
show.
Squid Game reality show that they
That was
based on the
excellent.
show.
Yeah.
That was silly.
I'm the only person in the world that does not like Squid Games, so
Oh
It's
man,
fine.
I loved
I
it.
didn't even finish it, and my kids are so angry with me. They're like, "You need to go back." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing it. I don't
I
do
know
that."
people were obsessed with it for a minute.
Yeah, really. Well, I can go next because I knew
Yeah.
my answer immediately. Honestly, this film has been probably it was in my top 10, top 5 films for a long time, and I would still put it up pretty high at the top. And it's Old Boy from 2003. So it's an old movie, but it won't feel dated because the movie is so strange and surreal that I feel like it could take place at any time. And don't make a mistake. I mean, I'm not saying that the Spike Lee version isn't good, but
Mhm.
don't watch the American Spike Lee version first. Go back and watch the original 2003 Old Boy. It is on Paramount Plus right now. I just looked it up to see.
Okay.
So you could watch it for free there. And go in blind. That is the best thing I can tell you, is just to go in blind, because I remember when it was literally right around 2003 when my ex-husband and I watched this film together, and we didn't know anything about it at all because it just, people didn't talk stuff about all this at that time. We went in completely blind, and my mouth was hanging open at the end, and I couldn't get over it for like days. What ends up happening? So
Okay.
I know I've heard of that movie. Isn't it violent? I mean, it's pretty violent.
I mean,
unless I'm
there's-
thinking of something different.
There's martial arts like scenes where people are fighting each other, and at the end There's a few violent scenes, but the violence is not what stands out to me about this movie at all. It is 100% the twist and what happens, and you're so confused for most of it because I'll just tell you how it begins. This guy wakes up in this room and he has no idea how he got there or why he's there, and somebody keeps him in this little room by himself, I think for like 10 years or 15 years or something like that. He has a TV, he gets food sent to him every day, and he's able to go to the bathroom, but he doesn't know anything else about the world, and he only sees on the TV what people are showing, like wanting him to see. And then he all of a sudden one day the door is unlocked and he's just let out, and that's where the film kind of starts. So
Interesting. I've heard about it for years, and I've heard people love it, but I just had not seen it. So I would
mind
definitely
blowing. I
make sure I
highly
watch it.
recommend watching
Well,
it. Yeah,
I'm just gonna say, based on the parents' guide, the violence and gore section specifically, this movie will be a pass for me. But
see,
that's
I
okay.
don't. That's not even what I remember about it though. Like I genuinely don't remember the gore, which means that wasn't the what stood out about the film. So I don't know. I don't know. It was, to me, it wasn't gratuitous because it must go along with everything that happens in the movie.
Well, and
But
sometimes too, the description of the violence sounds a lot worse than the way it actually portrays on
True.
screen. But
very
you
true.
know,
And I
just
love
reading
watching
through
martial
it,
arts fights. You know, like I
yeah,
don't know. I think it's fun.
Mhm.
yeah, that stuff. Oh, that stuff sounds fun. But the other things I'm reading sound less fun.
Spike Lee version has that hot pants guy, I can't remember his name, in the main role, and then I think Samuel Jackson is in it even, if I recall correctly. I saw it a long time ago. That one didn't, and I'm not saying it's bad, but the original is so good.
Okay. Good to know. So for me, I watch a lot of Korean TV, especially reality TV. And I don't know why. I'm just truly fascinated by it. And I don't understand half of what's going on in most of it. So I have a few that I will recommend. Obviously, Squid Game, loved it. Know the World, loved it. And excited for this third and final season to finish it up. There's this other one. So that's the only one. And I do watch other scripted Korean shows, but the other ones I'm going to mention are all reality because they do excellent reality TV, I'm telling you. So another one that I recommend is Physical 100. And it's basically like The Challenge, like MTV's The Challenge, but it's all these strength people or athletes, and they're just doing these weird competitions to outlast each other. So there's like bodybuilders, there's just all, I think it's 100 people start the beginning of this contest, and they whittle it down to who's the fittest person. So I've
Wow.
seen
know what
2
you're talking
seasons
about.
of that. Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I've seen it
Yeah.
pop up.
Is it
And
funny?
It can be. I don't know. I don't know what my fascination with with it is. I don't know. It can be though, but I like a competition show, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's this new one I'm watching currently that I just started, and it's called Agents of Mystery, and I think Leah will like this one. They take celebrities, sometimes they're reality stars, could be pop stars, whatever, and they put them in these situations where they get to investigate paranormal mysteries, but it's all a game.
Ooh.
So it's almost like a very elaborate escape room or something. So right now I'm watching them trying to get these girls out of a cult before they get sacrificed. And this one is actually kind of funny. Like the people are funny, and so they're in this dungeon, or I don't know really where they are, because they put them in this elevator and they kind of like teleport them to where they need to be. So for this to begin, and they're supposed to be like sneaking around this place and finding keys and finding like clues and deciphering things, but they are so loud. I'm like, you guys aren't sneaking anything. They are just loudly talking to each other.
That sounds
And
fun.
it's so fun. It's very funny.
I like that.
Yeah, so you might like that one. These are all on Netflix, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
That one's called Agents of Mystery. But my favorite is by far, and season 2 just ended, and I just finished watching it, and it's called The Devil's Plan. And it's just super smart people. First of all, I've already decided Korea is some sort of magical place that I need to visit.
Mhm.
Everyone's so smart, so nice, and their hair is so shiny. I just need to.
My stepdaughter lives there, so she said we can come anytime.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
need
I
to
do
go
wanna
there
go there.
sometime. So for Devil's Plan, it's all these smart people, and they play these really elaborate games. Sometimes they're board games or just these puzzles that they need to solve. But it's like nail biting competition for me, and it's just games. Like, nobody's doing anything physical. It's just games. It's all using their brains. And they've played per season 12 to 15 games. I've understood this past season 2 of them that I fully understood how to
Kelly's
play
like,
the game.
I don't know what's happening, but I am on the edge of my seat.
I am. That's what's so funny. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm like, no. And then half the time I'm wrong. Like,
Right.
So, yeah.
Why did he do that? Then you're like, oh, wait, he won.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
A good thing. That's a good thing. Okay.
That's a good thing. Yeah. I'm always surprised at myself because I'm usually wrong, but everyone is just so, and they do competition shows so unlike Americans. Like, there is no backbiting. They really do like each other, and they try to be so nice, and even their little tiffs that they do have are so minimal. And so this past season, Justin Min, I don't know if anybody's seen The Umbrella Academy or Beef. He's in both of those shows.
Oh, I did see Beef.
Yeah. So Justin Min is in there, and he's a Korean American, so he speaks English, but he's learned enough Korean to be able to be on the show, and he did really well this past season of Devil's Plan. And it's very funny because he's trying to speak Korean the whole time, and every once in a while when he's getting frustrated or trying to explain something, he switches into English. But because, again, everyone's so smart in Korea, they all learned English, so they just easily pick it up and start talking to him in English. So it's just, other than that, it's fully in Korean. So
funny.
But yeah, that's my favorite show. I will watch that all day, and I don't
cute.
know what's happening. I was like, I want to play this game, and then I realized I would suck at this game because I don't even understand.
I want to play, but I have no idea what the rules are.
Right.
No,
right.
They explain the rules, and you see all the kids like taking notes as the rules are being explained. I'm like, what?
Some of them go in like not even knowing how to play.
You don't know any of the games. They're not games that they come up with them. They aren't, like, with the exception of a couple, they aren't games that people know there or anywhere. They are just designed by the game makers.
Oh, I see.
And the rules are so elaborate.
That's the worst is trying to play a game, especially like a card game. Then you're like trying to explain it to me.
Some of them are card games.
Instructions. Yeah, hell no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, you
myself.
play a few rounds, I'll watch, and then I'll see if it's something I'm interested in. Okay. That's how I like to learn a game.
Yeah, it's so good. Just watch one episode just to hear them explain the game, and you'll be like, oh my God.
That's so funny.
What just happened? The explanations just usually, I'm like in a daze by the time they're done explaining how to play.
Gosh. I know I had 0 recommendations for Korean shows, and here Kelly has like 3.
Yeah.
At least, just to start.
It's so good. I just go through Netflix. I'm like, well, what new reality show does
Yeah,
Korea have? And
that's so
I
funny.
just start watching. Yeah. But this paranormal one is fun. I think you'd like it. It's easy.
I
to
think
follow,
I would
and
too.
they're very funny. Yeah.
I think I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
But that's it. So we're ready to take this Lovecraft Country detour to a whole new location.
I'm ready.
Let's get started. This episode's wine pairing is the 2021 Adaptation Cabernet Sauvignon. This is a red wine that's crafted with precision and care and embodies the essence of the Napa Valley region. The nose is a bouquet of ripe blackberries, dark cherries, and a touch of cedar. And on the palate, the wine has layers of plush, velvety flavors, showcasing the classic Cabernet Sauvignon profile. Serve this wine with red meats, pastas, and hard cheeses. Enjoy. For more information about us and all of the wines that we feature, visit our website at fearandwine.com. And make sure you follow Fear and Wine wherever you listen to podcasts so that you don't miss a new episode. And if you like us, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. Thanks. Like I said, episode 6 is one of those episodes that shows have that's a complete derailment from the main story, but then it will tie in and it adds a lot of background to the main story. So it begins with a young Korean woman, and she's in a movie theater in South Korea watching the Judy Garland movie musical Meet Me in St. Louis. And she's watching my personal favorite number from the show, which is called The Trolley Song. And you can tell that she loves this movie and she's just mesmerized by what's on the screen. And because she is the only one in the theater, she does what and if we're being honest, almost all of us theater queens would do. And she gets up and she starts dancing and singing along down the aisles. It's great. I was like, I would totally do that too.
That's so cute.
But just as
I was doing it just watching it, so.
Yeah, exactly. I was too. I was like, oh, I know this song. And I was just belting it out. Yeah. But just as Judy and her start to sing the clang, clang, clang with the trolley, she snaps out of it. And we see that she is just in the theater sitting there watching the movie. And the performance moment was just a daydream. But she is pretty much by herself in there. The opening titles appear on the screen and in both English and Korean. And it says, "Meet me in Daegu." We come back, and the young woman is getting dressed in front of her mirror at home, and she's humming the trolley song. And we then see her on text on the screen that says, Fall 1949, Daegu, South Korea. So we do know that the Korean War took place from 1950 to 1953, and we know that Tick fought in the Korean War just before returning home to Chicago. And the young woman who is humming is addressed by her mother as Gia, and she's telling her about this new kimchi recipe she's trying out. So if we also remember from the last episode and episode 2, I believe, we have heard of this person. So last episode, Tick mentioned a woman named Gia, I think back in Florida, right, Kristen?
Yeah, and I did I mistakenly think that he was referring to her from Florida and she was actually in Korea?
He
In
knows her
Florida.
from Korea, but I don't know in the story where she physically is.
I
Okay,
think you
alright.
just said that he referenced like a previous
Okay, good. I just
relationship
want to
or
make sure that he was
something.
going to go
Yeah,
but I
back
don't
to
think
Florida.
you
Okay,
stated
good.
I don't know
where.
if they really said where she is.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
if we remember from episode 2, there was that young woman who popped out and they were being like psychologically tortured in each of their rooms. And there's that Korean woman that popped out trying to beat him up from
Yeah.
his room, and he was choking her and he calls her Gia. So
Yeah.
yeah. So if we're putting 2 and 2 together and maybe adding a
2
1
more?
as an educated guess, because we don't have proof yet, we can guess that this side story might have something to do with Tick's time in Korea.
And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the girl who plays Gia is, if anybody's seen Grown Ups, Rob Schneider. Remember, he has those daughters.
Yes.
Oh, is that her?
That is her. Yes.
Cute.
I actually love the
Oh.
Grown Ups movies.
So if you're picturing
yeah.
her, that's who you're picturing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fun and funny.
Okay.
I like a movie like that. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, I didn't realize.
They had like a white daughter, an Asian daughter, and then one that they were like, oh, she's not as attractive as the other ones.
right.
She was the Asian daughter.
Okay.
Which I feel like I remembered her from other things, but I couldn't
Mhm.
remember what. Like, was she on MTV or something before that? Like a long. I don't know.
Could've been.
I don't know.
Could have been. I'd have to look her up. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so Gia tastes this new kimchi recipe, and she thinks it's fine, but then she playfully throws in a handful of seasoning into the bowl and laughs. And the 2 women are having a nice chat about the cabbage dish, and Gia says that once she graduates, they will be able to afford all the cabbage they could want. Gia sits and starts cleaning even more cabbage, and to me, there's already quite a bit of cabbage in this scene. It's everywhere, more than I've ever seen at one time in any person's home. So I don't know how much more they feel they need after graduation, but unless they're starting a kimchi business. But I was like, wow, there's already a lot of cabbage going on right now. But then her
Wait, don't they
mother
bury?
says,
Sorry, when they make kimchi,
Okay.
don't they bury it underground? So they probably make. I think they make a really big batch of it when they do it.
because I don't. At this point, it was all just in a bowl, and she's cleaning it, so I
Okay.
don't know where it came
Where
from.
it's
But
going.
it was
Okay,
a
gotcha.
ton of cabbage just laid out there. Yeah. But
I'm
Then
sorry,
her-
real quick, just to interrupt. I'm sorry, but she was on The Real World San Diego.
is that where she's from?
Yeah, in 2004, Jamie Chung.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's her.
Yeah, so I thought I recognized her. I know she's been in a lot of other movies and stuff.
She
but
started in reality TV though.
Yeah, that's where I
Interesting.
recognize her
I didn't
face
know that.
from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but
I didn't watch a
thought-
lot of Real World, so I didn't. I watched
Oh,
all the
man.
challenge, but not the Real World.
You would have
so.
loved it, Kelly.
I love
Yeah.
her.
You would have absolutely loved it. I
I've
grew
seen
up.
like 2 seasons, and I was like, give me to the challenge.
Really?
And I just moved on. Yeah. That's all I cared about. Okay, but then after, like, I thought it was a lot of kimchi, but then, or cabbage, but then we hear her mom say, if this batch of kimchi comes out too spicy, we won't have anything to eat all winter. So now we get a better understanding that while there is a bunch of it, this is all they have to eat for the winter months. Gia doesn't seem too stressed about this, though, and she says we can always ask the neighbors for some. And this hits a nerve with her mother, who bitterly points out that they haven't been invited there for years, not since her husband's death. Gia assures her that her degree will bring respect and dignity to their family, but her mother kind of snaps at her and basically lets her know, just forget all about this education stuff. You want to make this family respectable again, you need to start bringing home some men. So now at this moment, I'm wondering, does she mean men as in like turning tricks for money? Or is she trying to say start bringing around some possible suitors so that we can have a man back in the family? So we will find out what she means later, because I really wasn't sure at that moment.
Mhm.
I would think in the 50s, one of those ways is significantly more a preferable option for respect, but I truly didn't know where she was headed. But Gia looks sad and says, yes, Uma, to her mother. And I'm going to call her mother Uma for the rest of the show, but for the rest of the recap, but I believe Uma is just the word for mother in Korean.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's how I took it, too.
That's how I
Mhm.
took it, but that's in order to tell this story, I have to use the word Uma to let you know who's talking. So
Okay.
Mhm.
There is then a cut, and we are with Gia in school where she's studying to be a nurse. And she's in class where they have open a bunch of cadavers on the table, and they're looking in them and learning about all of their internal organs. Some of the other nursing students, gals, start kikiing and gossiping about the men that they've met and are interested in. And Gia just looks at them like they're silly, and she keeps studying her corpse. But at the same time, she's listening to what the girls are saying because she too wants tips on how to pick up men. It then cuts to a scene where Gia, still in her nursing uniform, is at a table chatting with a guy whose attention she's trying to get, but he doesn't seem too interested. And then it pans out, and we see that she and the other nursing ladies are on some sort of speed dating thing that seems to have been organized by their school. The bell rings and the men switch, so now Gia wants to impress this next man. So she starts this date with quoting in English one of her favorite American movies, and I believe it is a line from Meet Me in St. Louis, I think. And this time, she got some militant pro-Korean dude who lectures her about how the Japanese spent 50 years eradicating their culture and she shouldn't be consuming American propaganda. And he immediately marks her off as a no on his speed dating scorecard that all the men have. So the women have nothing. It's all a men's choice type of thing.
Reminds me of Love on the Spectrum when they're doing the speed dating. And it's so funny because just immediately in front of each other, they'll be like, nope.
Really?
Like, they don't. They don't even like wait until afterwards.
Kelly,
It's
you
just
would
like,
And then the producer
Love
would be
on
like,
the
hey, you
Spectrum.
want to not do that while they're
Right.
still sitting in front of you?
Oh, that's cute.
it's so funny because they're very straightforward, and
It's
I
just
love that
honesty.
about
Yeah.
them. Yes, very
Mhm.
honest and
But then there's James trying to like hide himself while he's filling his out. And
right.
oh my, Kelly, you
Mhm.
need to watch that show because people are blunt in a way that you actually would appreciate and
Would
love.
appreciate.
Mhm.
And
All right,
after
I need
watching
to-
it,
I
I've
need to give it a
decided I
chance.
will only date an autistic man if I'm ever going to date again because I feel like you can trust them better.
You're gonna be
more.
honest.
Seriously.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But that show just makes you feel good, too. They
Yeah,
just-
it's
me
such
too.
a good
Me too.
show.
It's so good.
But this guy, autism was not his issue. He was just a dick. Honestly, I can't because I've dealt with men like that, and I really can't stand it. And I don't know, just as kind of a little sidebar, I don't know if white women have to deal with this as much or ever, but this has happened to me where I've been out and a guy does not know me at all. He's maybe seen me for 30 seconds, and I've had them approach me because I'm with white people.
Mhm.
Because Alice and I grew up where we were one of a very small amount of black people. We just in our schools. Now, obviously, we
Yep.
have family, so
Mhm.
we've been around black people, but
A huge
that's
family,
just not
actually.
where. So our groups of friends don't look like us, as for the most part. So I think I was in Los Angeles, and I'm with my friends. My two roommates were white, and there's a bunch of us going out, and I was the only black person. I don't even think about it. It's just that's my world. And so he decided he needed to cross the club dance floor where we were dancing to go get me and pull me and tell me about where I came from and my history.
What?
This is what I'm
gosh.
saying. I don't know where this.
You mean like a
some men get
white
this entitlement.
guy?
No,
Wait,
it was a black
white-splaining?
guy.
A black guy.
Oh, mansplaining.
No.
Oh, yeah, we all get mansplained too, for sure.
Yeah,
Like-
but
like
no,
you
I'm
don't-
just
like
saying.
you don't
do
know
they
where you-
tell you where you're from if you're not with people who look like you? And like that, does this happen to white women where a white guy will be like, "Hey, you don't know your history," and just start because of who you're around.
Right.
Yeah, no, that
I don't know
not
that
far. No.
Yeah, this
no.
has happened more
Okay.
than once.
I
to me, just
misunderstood.
'cause
I
of who
thought he
I'm
was like
around,
explaining,
Yeah.
thinking he was explaining something new
No.
to you that you had never heard before or something. But no, I get
Well,
it
yeah,
now.
but
But he's being judgmental.
yeah, maybe he
yeah.
was, but I wasn't speaking to him. I hadn't
Mhm.
seen him. He just crossed the floor. Like I didn't ask a question,
even
and he
thinking
didn't.
about him.
That's crazy.
He just says, "You clearly don't know where you come from." He just started telling me this, so I don't know. I don't know what that
Oh,
was,
man.
but that's that vibes that this guy gave me when she was just trying to like talk about her favorite movie. So he marks her off as a no, and the bell rings again, and the men move on to their final dates for the night. And Gia's new guy is kind of cute, and the other two were not really. So Gia opens with letting this guy know who she is right away and that she loves Judy Garland and the movie Meet Me in St. Louis. And this new guy says, "I know that movie. I've seen it twice. I love Judy Garland." So Gia is delighted to hear this and completely ignores the possible red flag that statement should have just shot up. And that's fine because whatever's going on here with Gia is clearly not about love and more about numbers and just getting asses in the seats, if you will. They both continue to gush over Judy Garland and their favorite songs of hers. And the date bell dings again, and the moderator says, "If you've made a match, go ahead and pair off and have fun. The event's over." So Gia thinks she has made a match, and this could be something. But then he looks at her, and then down at his scorecard, and he puts an X through her number, eliminating her as an option for him, and tells her, "Best of luck," and leaves. So Gia gets up to leave, when the girl from her nursing class that all the girls were wanting a man getting advice from, because she clearly has some game with these men, she comes over and tells her to join them for coffee. And the them she's referring to is the cute guy Gia was just rejected by. And Gia says, no, she doesn't want to be in the way. But the girl walks over to her and says quietly, just come along. This guy is dull. I'm not at all interested, but he's cute and we can just look at him. So Gia tells the girl her mother is expecting her to bring home a man tonight. And the girl tells her that sometimes moms want what's best for them and not for us. If you change your mind, just come and join us. We then go with them to a dimly lit nightclub, and her friend is dancing. So Gia is sitting alone at a table having a beer, and she's all dressed up and looking gorgeous, and she is on the prowl for a man. And at this point, any man that makes eye contact with her will do. She spots a man at the bar, and it works. We then see them walking late night back to her home, and she takes the man back into her bedroom and lights some candles to make it all romantic looking, and she undresses and goes over to the man who's still fully dressed, and he seems to be a little nervous. So here we get the sense that turning tricks might be what her mother was referring to when she said start bringing home some men.
Yeah, I feel like if she would have said a man, she would have said it more
That's
singular
true.
if she meant like just a
Well, I
suitor.
didn't know if she meant options.
But
like
no,
just
yeah, but no, you're right. It could have went either way.
So then the man realizes, oh shit, this is really going to happen. So he hurries and takes all his clothes off and gets into bed with her. And by the way, this bedroom is really cool looking. I'm guessing it was probably what a standard Korean homes look like in the 50s, but it's this big table-like bed in the middle of the room, no headboard, no footboard, and there's like a shelf around the room where she put all the candles. It's a cool looking room. It looks more like I would think like a spa type of room would be, but I don't know. Yeah, I liked it. So the two of them start to have sex, and Gia really isn't into it, and you can tell this is just a job for her and something she has to get through. But meanwhile, he's having a great time. He finishes, and then we see this furry, scorpion-like tail emerge from under Jiha and curl itself around the man that's on top of her. And it stabs into the man's back, and he screams. And then we see more of these furry tentacles emerging from Jia's ears and nose and everywhere, and they reach out to attack the man. There's then this cool shot of all of these tentacles, these furry tentacles, lifting up the man and killing him, but we're seeing it in shadows from outside of her bedroom. And then we see the tentacles go into the man's ears and into his nose, and then Gia opens up her mouth, and one huge one comes flying out of her mouth and into his, and then out of her eyes and into his.
Yikes.
Yes. So we then see this dreamlike image of the man's life flashing before his eyes and see everything he's thinking about in his final moments. We see him at his wedding, him holding his baby daughter, him excited to be at the top of a mountain somewhere, and then the man's entire body explodes and just bursts like a blood-filled balloon all over Gia. Yeah, it was really gross.
Gross.
Right after that, Gia's mother opens the door to see that the task has been done. She looks at Gia and says, 10 more. We cut to a different day, and Gia is in the movie theater again with a bunch of people, and there's this political propaganda cartoon on the screen, and it's just a little opening that they do before the feature film starts. When the movie titles come up, we see that Gia is in there to watch another Judy Garland film, and this film is with Judy Garland and Fred Astaire, and it is Easter Parade. Before the film begins, though, there's an earthquake, and everyone gets up and runs out of the theater. But once they all get outside, they see it wasn't an earthquake at all, but instead huge American military tanks filled with soldiers rumbling down their narrow streets. And text on the screen says summer 1950. And FYI, the Korean War begins June 1950. There are American soldiers littering the streets with flyers telling them not to fear the American troops, that they are here to help and fight for their freedom. Later, Gia and her mom are at home, and her mom has cooked a special meal for her because it's her birthday. They sit down and eat together, and Gia notices the flavor of anchovies in the broth and comments about how that was Uma's husband's favorite. Uma is shocked to hear that Gia remembers that. Gia says, I remember everything. When I absorb their souls, I see their entire lives before they die. All of his memories are in me. Uma tells Gia to never speak of her husband again. Gia tells her, Mother, I really appreciate all that you are doing for me. Uma points out that it has been a month since she has brought anyone home. She says that this war is the perfect time to maybe start targeting the American men. You just have 2 more to go, and then you'll be done. All of the memories that you've absorbed will be washed away. Jia says, "Is that what the Mudang told you when you had her summon me?" And a Mudang is a Korean shaman that is a spiritual connection between the living and the supernatural world. And they're usually
Isn't,
women.
isn't that also the name of that tiny little hippo? Remember that
Is there a little hippo
I know
that
what
little
you're talking
pig,
about,
that
and I
pygmy
do.
hippo? I think her name was Mudang also.
Oh.
Maybe it's spelled
not a
differently.
type of hippo, but a specific hippo.
Yeah,
name.
specific.
Oh, that's cute.
But yeah, there was that tiny
I
little,
think you're right, though.
yeah, the little pygmy hippo that like was super
Mhm.
popular on social media for a while.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking
It's
at-
like, it looks greasy.
Yeah. Yeah. It always looked greasy and slimy
Mhm.
and wet and stuff. I don't know if they like kept it moisturized or if that's just how they naturally
that's how it
are.
looks. Yeah,
they
I'm not sure.
secrete. They do secrete an oil that's part of their
Oh.
sunscreen.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
hippos are always a little shiny because if their skin, like that's why they need to be in water.
Right,
They'll
that makes
burn so
sense.
quickly
Okay,
where
that
they
makes
live.
sense. That
So
makes
they have
sense.
this oil that covers them. Yeah. Mudang is a Korean shaman that's a spiritual connection between the living and the supernatural world. Uma tells her, yes, that's what she was told. If you absorb 100 souls, then the Kumiho spirit will leave you and you will become a human again. A Kumiho is also known as the 9-fox-tailed spirit in Korean mythology. It's a predator that consumes its victims and often appears as a beautiful woman. Uma tells her, we're so close, we're almost there. Don't wait any longer. Just get a soldier and bring him home. Jia excuses herself from the table and heads out to the hospital for her shift. So it's wartime, so obviously she's working on a lot of wounded soldiers in the hospital. And we go over to a hospital room that's filled with bleeding and screaming soldiers with all sorts of battle wounds. Jiha goes to set a broken leg, and the bone is protruding out of the skin. And the pain is so great on the soldier that he grabs her arm and twists it around to make her stop, and it injures her arm a little bit. But her nurse friend helps her out, and she's fine. And she sees her friend then go to talk to a handsome orderly. So later, after work, when the two of them are walking back home, Jia asks if that guy is her new boyfriend. And the girl's like, oh, no, he wishes. Why? You want me to set you up? He's a good one to bring home to mom. Jia says that she heard the two of them speaking about the war and that the man is a communist and her mother wouldn't like him. Her friend is freaked out by Jiha discovering her secret, but Jia tells her she won't say anything to anyone. She doesn't care that the girl is different. She's different too. But her mother wants her to change, and she's only trying to protect her, but she's not sure she wants to change. So it sounds like Jia likes this power that the spirit gives her, and she's not sure she's ready to let it go. Just then, a truck rolls by, and there's a group of people running behind the truck chanting, "Kill the communist." And then the truck stops, and a man in the bed of the truck stands up, and he has a noose around his neck, and they hang him there right in the street in front of everybody. And Jia notices that this was all allowed to happen while the American soldiers just stood by and watched. She spots an American soldier not far from her, and they make eye contact, and he smiles at her. There's a quick cut, and we are in Jiha's bedroom, and she and Uma are cleaning up fresh blood that is covering the room. Uma excitedly points out one more, and this is all over. Jia tells Uma that her husband loved her, the man that Jiha refers to as her father. She knows this from his memories, that he loved Jiha, but why was that wrong? She asks Uma to help her understand this. There seems to be so many different kinds of love. Uma tells her, my husband hurt my daughter. His kind of love was wrong. Jia asks, so that's why you had the Mudang summon me to kill him, because he was a monster. But yet now you want me to kill like a monster so that I can become human. Uma tells her, you don't understand why his love was wrong because you can't feel love. She will understand when she becomes human. Jia tells her that she is not going to become human. That was the last soul she will take. She has seen the lives of 99 men, and more of them were bad than good, so why would she want to become human like them? Uma yells, because I want my daughter back. Uma starts to cry, and she says she only wanted to protect her daughter, and the Mudang said there would be a price, but this was too high. Jia tells Uma the Mudang summoned the Kumiho into her daughter, but her daughter's memories aren't in there anymore. Uma refuses to believe this because she still sees her daughter in there sometimes, with the way she says things. But she believes that as soon as she becomes human again, all of her memories will come back. Jia starts to softly sing a song that Uma remembers teaching her daughter, and Uma smiles knowing that her daughter is somewhere in there. But then Jiha quickly changes and begins quoting Uma's husband and tells Uma that her daughter sang that song to herself every time her husband raped her, but she has no memory of Uma teaching her that song. She knows all of this from his memories. Gia tells Uma that her husband chose her because she was a woman with a child that she had had out of wedlock and no one would take her. And because of this, he knew she would allow him to get away with anything as long as he stayed married to her and kept her from living in disgrace.
Ugh, that's gross and awful. And that's sad because there are women that will like stay with men and let them have access. I mean, not let them, but like they'll be with men and like almost pick the men over their children. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they'd rather be with a man than be alone.
And I think
it's, like,
especially
scary.
in this time period, this culture, that disgrace thing is such
Right,
a thing. So her
right.
family probably didn't care. They're like, take whoever will take you. At
Right.
this
And
point.
financially too. I mean,
Oh, yeah, poverty
yeah.
for sure plays a part.
Yeah. So we now go to a new military location, and we see Gia and the other nurses arrive there with a bunch of American soldiers. And the nurses look nervous and confused, and they get off of this truck, and they're made to kneel on the ground in a line next to one another. An American soldier is holding a gun in his hand and walking back and forth among them. He tells them that they have learned that information has been leaking out of their hospital and making it to the communists. They know one of these nurses is a communist spy. The soldier kneels down in front of one girl, that we've not seen this girl before, and he asks her, "Is it you?" She shakes her head no, and she is terrified. He nods, stands back up, and shoots her in the head. Now, the girl that we know for sure is the communist is in this group. The soldier sees a girl crying at one end of the line and goes to shoot her, but he's out of bullets, and he has to go get more. But in the meantime, he calls over another soldier who is ready with a gun, and that soldier marches over to the line of women, and this new soldier is Tick. Tick quickly, without pause, shoots and kills the girl that was on the end. And this girl was kneeling right next to Gia, so all of her brain matter gets all over half of Gia's face.
Yikes.
Yeah. The soldier again asks, "Which of you is a spy?" Tick starts to hold up the gun to Gia when the girl who actually is the spy, who happens to be on the other side of Gia, jumps up in front of her and tells them that she is the spy, and this is her friend. The soldier, not Tick, punches the woman in the face and knocks her out, and then throws her in the back of a truck, and they take her somewhere as they pull away. Tick and Jiha make eye contact, though. There's a jump in time, and it is now fall of 1950. Gia is back in her hospital working on wounded soldiers when she spots Tick across the way laying injured in one of their beds. She does not approach him. She waits and watches him until nighttime at the end of her shift. And she sees him struggling to read a book, and she sees him crying in pain and frustration. Back at home, while having breakfast with her mother, she tells her that she's going to take her last soul from a soldier at the hospital. Uma smiles and is thrilled to hear this news. Back at work, Jiha approaches Tick in his bed, letting him know that she has new linens and she needs to change his bed. Tick is sitting up now, and he seems to be doing much better, and he's able to stand and walk a little bit with crutches. So Tick gets up and starts helping Jiha make the bed. And after the bed is made, Tick asks Jiha to read his book to him. He says he can't because his glasses are broken. Jiha takes the book and sees that it is the Count of Monte Cristo. He tells her that he only has a few chapters left. So she just decides to spoil it for him and sums up the end right there and quickly hands the book back to him.
Oh.
I know.
Rude.
Oh, yeah, I would have been mad.
But it's okay. The two of them discuss the book for a bit, and she tells him her issues with the story, and she thinks the premise is great, but the story was told poorly, and wonders why they did that. Tick hands her back the book and tells her to find out for yourself, because that's not how the story ends at all. But he says he understands why they changed it for the movie. So, a little embarrassed that she has just been exposed for not reading the book but only seeing the film, Jiha excuses herself and does not take the book. It's later, and they're outside, and she's on break with some of the other ladies, and they're playing catch or hot potato or something with a ball, and they're in a circle tossing it to one another. And when the ball gets away from them and rolls over to two soldier patients sitting and talking, and one of them is Tick. He catches the ball and introduces the fellow soldier friend of his to her, and his name is Sean, and he is Korean American. Tick tells her that he and his friend were talking about what happened earlier with the book versus movie thing. And Gia tells him that she hasn't been able to get to the movies lately because their only theater is shut down. And she was really hoping to see Summerstock, which is another Judy Garland film with Gene Kelly. And incidentally, having nothing to do with the show, Summerstock features my favorite Judy Garland song, which is called Get Happy, and that's the one that we heard in the first episode of the show Them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that
It's
song.
a little tie-in, yeah.
Hmm.
So Tick hands her back the ball, and she starts to go back to her friends when she turns around and asks both men, "Have you two ever met Judy Garland?" And the men laugh, and Tick apologizes and tells her that the only way either of them would meet Judy Garland would be if he was her butler and the friend was her chauffeur. He tells her in America, colored folks are treated differently. Jiha suggests that Sean maybe stay in Korea after the war, where he would be more respected. He says it really doesn't matter. Here or in America, he will always be seen as a foreigner. Later that evening, Jia sits and reads the end of the book to Tick. Tick and Jia sit and talk about the war and his home and his family. And Jia tells Tick, "We have to stop letting fear shape us." Tick tells her that that's good advice. And Jia tells him that's something that her best friend told her. Tick smiles and says, "Well, I'd like to meet that best friend." And Jiha just looks at him, and Tick continues to smile, completely oblivious that he has been the one that killed her best friend. A night or two later, Jiha shows up to the base, and she's all dressed up, and she tells Sean, who's waiting at the gate for her, that she's supposed to be meeting Atticus for the night, and the two of them are going out on the town. Sean tells her that plans have changed, and he signals for her to follow him. Then he leads her into this dark tent and tells her to wait here, and then he leaves. Jia calls out for Atticus, and then there's this bright light in her face and she can't see. But when she turns around, she sees Tick there all dressed up, holding a flower for her, a pink peony, one of my favorite flowers, and there is a screen behind him. He has created a little movie theater for her for their date so that she can watch Summer Stock.
It's so sweet.
It's so cute.
I mean, other than the killing and all the brains and all that, take that out of it.
He hasn't realized that that's
yeah.
Jia is amazed and delighted by this, and she seems to start liking Tick, even if she really doesn't want to. The two of them share a kiss during the movie, but after the film, she takes Tick back to her home and into her bedroom. They start making out when Tick tells her to slow down because he confesses to her that he is a virgin. He wants to be with her, but this will be his first time. Jia is surprised by this, but still not thrown off from her mission. He stops her again to continue his confession and tells her how ashamed that he is of some of the horrible things that he has done during this war and how much he'd like to forget them. And when he's with her, he feels like it is possible to forget all of that because she sees the good in him. So Tick is now totally killing this violent, brutal murder vibe that Jiha was going for in her last hurrah. She starts kissing him, and she seems still intent on getting this job done, but you can tell in her face that she's starting to doubt herself. And before things go too far, and Jia can feel the monster start to awake within her, she stops him, pushes him off of her, and yells for him to get out and leave. And while he's gathering up his clothes to run, Uma opens the door and is pissed that he is getting away. And Jia is just sitting on her bed, rocking back and forth, trying to contain the monster. Jia tells Uma that she has spent so long trying to make her happy and do what has been asked of her, but she has real feelings for Tick now, and she just couldn't kill him. Uma tells her, "How can you possibly have feelings for the man who killed your best friend?" She tells Jia that she truly is a monster now, and then she spits on her and leaves. I think the spit was a little rough, a little too far. The next day, Jia waits for Tick by the guard gate to the base, and Tick marches out to her and tells her that she needs to leave, and then he turns to walk away, and Jia shouts at him, "You killed my best friend." Tick stops in his tracks and walks back to her, and she tells him the story of them being all lined up for the executions. Tick remembers, and the memory seems to almost make him sick, and he says, "But she was a communist sympathizer. I was following orders. Who knows how many lives I saved by doing that?" She tells him it doesn't balance out with how many lives you have taken. Tick starts to get upset because he realizes now that the whole time that she knew who he was, but she never said anything. "Why did you agree to go out with me?" And she simply says, "Because I was going to kill you. But I didn't because I've never felt this way." She tells him that they have both done monstrous things, but that doesn't make us monsters. We could be the people we see in each other. And Jia and Tick are now crying, and he kisses her. So now we cut to the two of them back in that little theater room that he created, and they are on the floor having sex. But this time, Jia is very careful not to hurt him. Later, Jia returns home and tells her mother that she loves Atticus, and her mom is like, "Well, whatever, you'll end up killing him sooner or later anyway." Jia tells her that won't happen because she can control her tails. Uma then says, "So, you've made my daughter a monster and a whore." Uma's really just going in for the kill.
Yeah, she is.
But I get it, like you have one more person you need to kill.
Like you're so close.
You're so close, and I can have my daughter back and get this monster out of her. Yeah, so I get it. Uma asks her, "Have you told Atticus what you are?" And she points out the only reason he likes you is because he doesn't know the truth about you. It's now winter of 1950. And Gia and Tick are happy and in love, and they're frolicking in the snow together at her house. And then we see the two of them inside as Gia is reading him the story of the 9-tailed fox spirit that takes the form of a beautiful woman. So she's trying to ease him in to what she is. And it's then, though, that Tick tells her that he has found out he has enough points to rotate out of his unit and he can go home. He tells her he can also choose to stay. She tells him that she can't ask him to do that for her. And so he asks for her to go home with him. But she says there's just so much about me you don't know. And he assures her that nothing she could say or do would change his mind. And the two of them kiss and they start having sex. But this time, Gia is unable to control the monster. So just as we saw before, her 9 tails start to emerge from all over her body and begin wrapping themselves around Tick, no matter how hard she tries to fight them and pull them back in. 2 of the tails jump from her eyes and cover his, and she can now see his whole life and all of his memories from his childhood, and some of the awful tortures that he had to perform on people during the war, including what he did to her friend when they took her away for questioning. And we see Tick pulling out her friend's teeth one by one with pliers. Somehow she is able to release him and bring all of her tails back in, and she realizes that she has also seen Tick's future and everything he's going to do as soon as he leaves her and goes back to Chicago. So Tick is now laying naked on the floor in a daze, and she looks down at him and tells him, "Don't go home." Tick is finally able to pull himself together enough to ask what the hell just happened, and Gia says, "Don't go home, you're going to die." She begs him to listen to her, but he is freaked out, understandably, and he's just running around the room collecting his clothes, trying to get away from her. And he does get away, and he runs out of the house, as Gia stands there and sobs, trying to explain to him what she is. Later that night, Uma comes home and sees her on the floor still crying, and she goes and holds her. It's a new day, and Uma and Jiha are walking in the snow, and as they're walking, we hear this audio of playing an interview with Judy Garland, and she's talking about reading about herself in the tabloids and how so many things that are said about her are untrue. The two women then arrive to the hut of the shaman, and just as they get to the shaman's door, Jia looks over and sees a fox. Jia approaches the shaman and kneels before her. The shaman is like, "Well, I see you've come back to ask for my help again, knowing the full price of what you ask." Uma tells her that she will bear the cost for her daughter, whatever it may be. Jia tells the shaman that she has seen a vision of a man's death, and it was not by her hands. She's never seen this before and wants to know if it will come true. The shaman tells her mortal concerns are meaningless. Jia asks, "Will Atticus die?" The shaman then sets fire to a piece of paper and lets the ashes fly away in the wind, and she tells her, "You have not even become one with the darkness yet. You will see countless deaths before your journey is done." And then it cuts to black, and that's the end of the episode.
Wow.
So we don't know Atticus's fate yet. We don't know. We haven't gotten a full answer from the shaman. I guess that's the shaman's way. Maybe they just don't answer you directly.
It's a cool episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Very cool.
Sometimes those ones that kind of detour off can go either way. Either they're really good or they're really why did what was the point of that, But that one was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect it to fully focus on her completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do like that they add the time, because I agree. There's some times where there's those detour episodes and they just feel like they're just artsy for the sake of being artsy,
Right,
and when you rewatch the series, you just know to skip that one. So
Yeah,
exactly.
Like in Stranger
Yeah.
Things, where 11 goes to visit that sister. Yeah.
just skip it. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
add too much to the story at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, in them, we had the one that filled in the whole backstory of the church that burned down and all that, and you really needed the black and white episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Remember that one? That one I felt like
And them,
was
yeah.
necessary. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So sometimes those aren't necessary, but this one, was really interesting, and that's a really cool story about her having the monster inside of her.
I know. I like it. It's confusing, and hopefully I made it make sense, but it's like her
no.
daughter is now
Mhm.
taken over by this monster. So
Mhm.
her mother, or who I kept saying was Uma, won't really call her my daughter because she knows that it's not fully her yet.
Mhm.
And so that's why she's a little harsher with her. And the spitting on it, she's not seeing that as her daughter yet
Right.
until that monster is out.
Yeah.
So
And you
she
mentioning
had-
how, oh, sorry. I was going to say,
No, you're
Kelly
fine.
had mentioned how every episode kind of almost mimics a genre, and this is like that folk horror. I mean, there's a movie that I love. It was so scary to me called The Medium, and I think it's
I
from
wanna watch that one.
Thailand. But that's the Asian folk horror genre is like a thing, and it is, to me, it's terrifying. So
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember told us about The Medium. It was around the time when Parasite came out
oh,
because that was super popular. Was that a Korean show or
Yes.
movie also?
Isn't Parasite Korean?
Parasite
I
is
think
Korean,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, because
They won a lot of
was
awards
super
and
popular.
everything.
It
Mhm.
did. It did. But I never saw that one either. But
She threw shade on one of the ladies in Parasite. I can't remember which one it was. It was an older lady. She totally threw shade at Brad Pitt too in one of those
Oh.
acceptance speeches because
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
yeah, he had been involved and won an award, but she said something along the lines of they had never seen him before or something like that. So
wow.
it was good.
He was a producer on it. Like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
producer,
yeah.
a lot of times just money and name. They don't need to be
Yeah.
on set.
Yep.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
wow.
funny though.
Well, that's cool.
But I guess I'd have been the same way if I'm like, oh, Brad Pitt's producing my movie. I'd hope to see him, but he doesn't have to.
Yeah, you
That's
would
true.
Be there.
I didn't
They
know
don't
much
shake his
about that, but
hand.
watching the studio taught me about how the producer, wants recognition maybe, but doesn't really do anything on the film. And that was
No,
I didn't know
they're the
anything
money
about that.
people. They
Yeah.
do the money and get it organized, but once it comes time to film, they don't need to be there. A lot of times they're in the way if they're there, as far as an executive producer. Now, there are other jobs, like what I used to do was called a producer, but you're working for the actual, there's so many types of whatever producer is the second word, but you're actually working for the production. So you are needed, but you get like a producer title because producers have their own union. You earn enough of them, you can join. So that's how they just start
Interesting.
tacking on words.
You know so
to
much
get
about that.
people.
I need to pick your
I
brain
know.
one
A
day.
little bit,
neat.
only when it involves reality TV. That's as far
enough.
as I got. Yeah.
It's interesting though.
Yeah,
Well, that was a
Thank
great
you for
episode.
this
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, and
episode.
visually, this episode's gorgeous too.
Mhm.
Just all the stuff in Korea, it's really pretty.
The part that you were talking about when she was stabbing the man and you could see it from outside, it reminded me of, if you've seen the new Megan Thee Stallion video, that one of the newer ones she had where she turns into the snake and you can just see like the shadow
seen
through
it.
the door. That's so cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. But
Yeah, it's really cool. You could watch this one. There's not a lot of
yeah,
of
the
not too
exploding
much
body
horror.
part, I might.
But it's really it's just
shy
like
away from that.
it's just like a water balloon. It's exactly like if you've ever seen, what's that movie we love, Al, or that I love?
Yeah, because don't say we
you
might
like
not.
you
What
did
is it?
kind of like it. The one with Samira Weeding, the family, the gamers.
Ready or Not?
Ready or Not. There's a lot of water balloon exploding type of death there, and I loved it.
Oh. Yeah, see, I avoided that movie too, even though I heard a lot of good things about it because
So
it
fun.
seemed
That's
very
fun,
violent.
yeah.
But you know, maybe some of the funnier ones I could handle.
That one's a funny one.
It
yeah.
is. Did I hear they're making another one, or did I make that up?
I
Yeah,
feel like
I
you
might have
told
made
me,
that
but
up.
you might have made
I
it up.
probably made
No, they're working on one. I'm pretty sure I just saw
Oh, okay, I didn't make it up.
something
Okay.
advertised for it. Yeah.
I wonder where they would go with it, because that's one of the ones that it really ended.
Right.
I don't know where else you go with it. It was a full-on ending, so.
Yeah, let me look. I'm pretty sure that they are making one. Ready or Not, Here I Come.
Okay.
26. Yep.
Okay.
Very
I
Wow.
didn't make it up.
So you have that to
Sometimes
look
I just
forward
make
to.
stuff up, so I don't.
She does. Since
I
she was a
forget
kid,
that I made it up.
she would just make stuff up and not remember, or even translate stuff. Like she used to
Right.
swore. I don't think you actually thought you spoke Spanish, but if we asked you something, you just have an answer for it and you just made it up. We're like,
yeah.
and Mom would believe. She's like, "Oh, is that what that means?" I'm like, "Why are you listening to her? She's like 7. She's not
I
teaching you
still do
Spanish."
it. Sometimes I'll just drop random facts that aren't facts at all, and people
All the
believe
time.
them. And I don't go back and say, "Oh, I'm just kidding." So
No, she doesn't.
people are
People
going to
go-
believe these facts.
People
that
go
are not
their
facts.
whole lives thinking something you told them was
Yeah.
true.
Sometimes I let it go, but sometimes I just look at her. I'm like, "You guys are seriously taking this as an
That's
answer?" Like
hilarious.
she's just making. She doesn't know.
So I'll do it with a
Oh,
straight
man.
face too. I'll be like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's
What's
done it her
crazy?
whole life. She was like little and just making stuff up, and
It's
my mom's
fun.
really
Funny.
believing. I was like, "You really believe a 7-year-old just
That's-
taught you what that meant in Spanish? She does not know." Yeah.
Goodness.
Well, thank you guys for joining me again today, and we'll do episode 7 next time. I'm not even sure
Definitely.
what episode 7 is, but we'll have it.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
I
Can't
wish I could
wait.
tell you, but I
Yeah,
haven't
thanks.
looked yet.
I know I didn't look ahead. All right, guys.
Right.
Thanks.
Bye.
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 For more information about our episodes, follow us on Instagram at Fear and Wine Pod. And if you have a fun discussion question that you'd like for us to answer on the podcast, send it to us at fearandwinepod@gmail.com.